Yeah, they're all like pretty famous players, but I think a lot of their skill dropped. I think only Froggen is from the team is like here, and then the rest is like here. I don't know, if Froggen doesn't carry, then no one carries, and he's not like he's doing good every game, and he's playing weird picks like Vladimir and stuff like this, so I don't know, their mindset is just not on the same page, I think.
Welcome back, everybody. Fnatic is looking for their 16th straight win of the summer split, while Elements are up and to try and stop that record-breaking run. That's not all, though, for Elements. They have a lot more on their mind. Currently, they are tied for 7th, which would be the safe place for a team of Elements, but definitely not wanting to drop below that.
Not at all. 4 Elements with the current record of 6 and 9 means if they pick up a win here and surprise everybody, they are one step closer to making playoffs. If they lose, which is the expected outcome, they're one step closer to the promotion tournament. Last split, they were safe. They are not as safe this split.
Hey, but it's Surprise Friday.
Yeah, it is. I was actually about to say exactly the same thing. It's, you know, everybody's winning games they shouldn't, losing games that they theoretically shouldn't as well. So it's a rough spot at the bottom side of the playoff table.
Yeah, very interesting. But turning more the attention to Elements, as said yesterday, they did pull out a victory versus the Copenhagen Wolves. And you could have a little bit of criticism saying that it wasn't as convincing as it should be from them versus a team like the Wolves, but hey, the Wolves can win versus H2K, and Froggen honestly yesterday putting up a good performance.
Yeah, he really did. You just heard Forbiven's comments about Froggen as well, about how, you know, without me being on screen, the whole hand thing that Forbiven did isn't exactly all that valid. But, you know, Froggen yesterday, his first Varus game in the summer split, 95% kill participation for him, 11-2-7, and the key thing was now Froggen on a meta pick is getting successful roams. It's just an indicator of what Froggen can do when he's on top of his game, on top of the meta.
Yeah, definitely the case. For Elements, though, they need to have a monumental change in their performance because it took far too long to beat the Wolves. Yes, the Wolves beat H2K today. Yes, the Wolves are looking better than they have. But with the way they played, Fnatic's not going to give them the chance.
No, Fnatic is definitely a team that would punish that. Yesterday, Fnatic in their game versus Giants. Was it Giants?
Yesterday, Roccat.
Roccat, excuse me. I was a little confused. But their game versus Roccat, because the only thing I could think of, honestly, was the Riven coming out from Huni, building up a massive CS difference, and it was just fantastic to see.
It was fantastic to see. We already touched on this in the intro, just how much Huni did. 97 CS at 20, up at 20 against Steve, and honestly, he was doubling his gold for most of the game.
Yeah, it really was. The thing that stands out to me the most, though, is it wasn't Huni playing Riven that actually won the game. It was playing around the threat of Riven. There were multiple times where Huni had a lane frozen with a Twisted Fate and a Rek'Sai in his team saying, I dare you to bounce this wave. I dare you to fight us, because then Twisted Fate and Rek'Sai will respond. Fnatic had a game plan. There was inherent risk involved, more than we've seen in recent weeks, and they still played it out competitively. Deficio said it best yesterday that Fnatic went back to an MSI style of team composition. It had an element of risk that needed execution to work, and it was executed flawlessly.
Yeah, flawlessly. We'll see if maybe they pull out another special pick in this game today. And for a look at the lineups, let's head over to Pyrotechnics and the Fee Show at the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Shax. We're swapping in here on the caster desk. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at those lineups. On the blue side today, there are the 6 and 9 Elements, which means we've got JWoww, Dexter, Froggen, Tabs, Nif, and their coach, Martin Mogensen.
Martin Mogensen. Mogensen. That's a lovely Danish name for me. I'm very proud you can almost say correct Pyro
I'm getting
right
there.
now.
I'm trying.
Fnatic on the other side, of course, currently still undefeated. We have Huni in the top lane, Rainova in the jungle, Forbiven in the mid lane, Reckless as the AD carry, Yellowstar support, and of course, Daylor the coach. And I really want to talk about this Riven pick. Analyst just mentioned it. I almost think that Elements should ban it, even though Huni's only played it once, and here's why. Fnatic on red side will most likely ban Ryze again, and therefore try and force Elements to first pick a Rumble to get an AP top laner. That would enable Froggen to play the Varus mid lane, which he was so good on yesterday. However, if you do that and Riven is open, we know that's the counter pick for Huni against it. And I don't think Elements as a team has the coordination or strong enough early to mid game to prevent that snowball from happening that we saw yesterday against Roccat. So if they don't ban that Riven, we might see this play come in once again for Fnatic, where they're fine giving up this Rumble pick, then take the Riven into it, and I'm not sure how Elements would respond to it.
Well, they've clearly always got it in their toolbox. You know, Huni mentioned in the interview that is something that he's prepared as a counter pick, whether or not that's something he's just saying or something that
no,
definitely
it is definitely.
That is that is something that they have to respect and fear. Now, we're going to have to take a look if that's the case as we head into picks and bans. Elements, of course, will be on the blue side for this game. Fnatic on the red, immediately starting off with a Rek'Sai ban.
Yeah.
Once again, targeting Reignover's champion pool, which, as we know, has been hit a few times.
But a very good ban against Reignover. I think this is his strongest champion by far, especially because of the global pressure it brings, which is something Fnatic uses so well. I mean, you don't want to try and play the map against Fnatic. It is almost always going to go wrong for you. Fnatic are so good at controlling these minion waves and use these globals effectively. So far, Riven is still open. We might see Elements to try something different and not even go for a potential Rumble early pick, and therefore don't really care about a Riven coming in from Huni, because he obviously has so many other picks as well to play.
Of course, the Jace ban against Febiven, who's had a series of good games on that one. I suppose he's pretty much had good games on just about everybody, or rather Fnatic has as a team. And also the Evelynn ban too. So Fnatic, interesting choice against Dexter here. Who's,
Okay.
You know, leaving the Gragas up, they're kind of trying to see if Elements will first pick it.
Yeah. I like the Evelynn ban though. Dexter was so strong on it yesterday as well. Sorry, not yesterday, but if we look at last week, we had great early game, and he's super important for the early game of Elements. So that's a pure target ban against him. We have to see what else is open. Gragas, as you said, 2 junglers being banned away. We have Alistar open as well, Ryze and Rumble. So the 2 AP top lanes, the main ones we normally see, are gone. Therefore, Elements also saying we don't have to ban the Riven, because we weren't even planning on running the Rumble in the first place. So they're just going to swap it up instead. And normally, a Gragas would come in as a first pick, but also now with Sivir banned and Kalista dropping down in value.
Just a bit.
Corki rises up. I do think Gragas would have been a fine first pick as well, though, for Elements.
Yeah, clearly they were valuing that Corki, however, so Reignover will be happy to let the Gragas fall into his hands. And the Kalista for Reckless would not be a surprise even on patch 5.13. We have still seen it used to great effect, but there's still time on the clock.
Yeah, this is one of the other AP top laners Huni has played before, obviously the Echo.
That's not, though.
Haven't seen it in a few weeks. No, that's not one of them, unless the AP Tryndamere is back
really.
with Runeglaive.
Yeah,
instead, though, Fnatic will get power picks for themselves. With Elements taking away that Corki, knowing that Reckless can just take Kalista anyway later on, that is his most played champion. Yes, again, it has been toned down a little bit, but it's still a fantastic pick. And that's why I think it's so scary that you now also give this jungler over to Reignover, because you are the one who banned the Rek'Sai. And that suddenly loses quite a lot of value, because he can still pick up Gragas.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this does prompt Dexter to go ahead and go towards the Elise. We saw it be very well effectively used earlier today. Didn't think the Anivia was going to happen, but you know, Froggen did play last split at least once.
He
when
tends
he had
to randomly find ways to play.
He just likes to pass over it, you know, hover
Yeah.
it and see what can happen.
I mean, if Fnatic ran a low mobility composition that had to try and engage on Elements, the Anivia would work wonders, but would obviously not be a blind pick right now for him.
I mean, you can't take a risk like that. It's so early on. You're facing off the best team in Europe, and it looks like we will be seeing a Nidalee and, of course, a Shen pickup. Remember, this is a flexible pick.
Yeah.
Go to Nif or JWoww.
So also this Nidalee pick, this is what we see more and more now, also with Runeglaive getting a buff in the early game, here in 5.13, especially for Nidalee. She comes in as this early game jungler that can go even with the Rek'Sai, but beat the Gragas in the early fights at least. And that's where Elements are looking for early pressure from Dexter. This is what we talk about. He needs to be the guy setting up his lanes, because on their own, Tabs and JWoww are not going to win the lanes. Froggen, you can trust. The 2 side lanes have not been performing well enough that Dexter can just leave them alone.
I'm curious to see what route Dexter decides to go with this Nidalee, because the 2 successful Nidalees we've seen on 5.13, Svenskeren and Diamond Prox, took a very, very different path. That's something for in-game, obviously. We'll take a look at it. But Diamond definitely had a bit more of a late-game scalability going to him. But Sven, man, did he make it hurt early on. And if Dexter can get that same kind of impact, Fnatic could be in trouble here. Very quick lock-in, or rather, still hovering on the Tristana. But there we go. Now they lock it in. And a Jarvan. Now, where could this be going?
So, I mean, Huni could take it to the top lane. We have seen Jarvan in the mid lane as well. Gravity played it over in NA as an example. So for now, it's still a flex pick. Obviously, Fnatic very heavy on the physical damage side at the moment. Tristana, though, it's a pick I really like. I think now also with other AD carries being nerfed a little bit, she really rises up in value. Fantastic tower pushing ability. At the same time, her laning phase is honestly pretty decent after she's been getting a few buffs here and there. So I think it's a strong pick overall for Fnatic. Obviously, with Alistar, not exactly going to be there. The lane where you destroy people in the early game.
But you want to wait till you scale that up, and that is true. The Tristana is a very, very fast-pushing tower menace, really, and a lot safer than other similar champions like Jinx, for example. Now, Elements, they go ahead and lock in the mid-Varus, and also the Janna for NiF, so we now know where that Shen will be going.
Yeah, and look here what Elements decided to do. This is why they first picked the Corki. So you have Corki as the AP, or somewhat of an AP champion. You have Nidalee in the jungle. That does enable you to get a Varus in the mid lane because you have a fine mix of damage coming in. So for Elements, that's why they first picked that Corki here, and that's why they banned the Rumble to avoid the Riven as well from Fnatic. It is a poke comp, very standard, loads of focus on long-range poke, and then of course a disengaging support. However, Fnatic have run Twisted Fate before against him, and he's such a good pick into poke if they decide to lock it in. Also to camp the Jarvan lane. Orianna would be a lot more passive though for them.
Yes, that is true. However, there would definitely be some ball delivery, but that's not going to happen today. Febiven opts into the Victor. We will have some poke and some lasers flying back and forth in that mid. However, Fnatic, they are getting a chance to experiment just a little bit here. New picks coming out across the board. Let's see how Huni performs on that Jarvan versus JWoww on the top.
Another big carry for him that has risk in it. I mean, Jarvan, you want to snowball that early game. At the moment, it's mainly going to be Reignover to help him. There's no Twisted Fate like we saw yesterday with the Riven pick. Instead, the safe one. It's the Victor. It's easy wave clear for himself. It's fantastic late game scaling. You have Tristana, you have Victor as a backline threat here if you are Fnatic. So their scaling is great. 1-4 setup, potentially, Jarvan in one lane. Good thing about Tristana as well is she's a safe AD carry because she has obviously her W to jump away. She can even shoot people with ulti, so you can even put her in a side lane if you want to push 3 lanes at once and then just group them together once you want to start pushing these towers down. So very standard Fnatic setup, even though there's obviously a few new picks for Reckless and for Huni.
This puts a lot of pressure, especially on Dexter now to, as we said, he had to make an impact in the early game, but he especially has to with this scaling effect that's going to be coming into play. The Tristana, the Jarvan, if it gets ahead, the Victor, I mean, there's some scary damage potential, but let's see who can take this one away. Will Fnatic continue their undefeated run, or will Elements grab a win to stay alive in the playoff race? You guys tell us at home. Hop on Twitter, hashtag FNC win, or hashtag Elements win. Deficio's mom, I think she's saying hi back, guys. No time for that, though. We're going on to the Rift. Here we go. Elements versus Fnatic.
Gonna be a great game here, Pyra. We see so many of these poke compositions, and once you play them, you have to make plays in the mid game. You cannot just sit back and play passive. That is gonna force Elements to be proactive on the map, but it's also gonna give openings to Fnatic to set up these big plays. Huni can engage team fights, but he can also be the split pushing threat for himself. I wonder if he's just gonna go Brutalizer and Tiamat and just become such a bully.
JWoww might want to watch his back. NiF is actually going to back him up here. We may be looking for an Elements lane swap as Tabs. The rest of the team is around the side. Dexter hiding in the brush. Pixel brush. Reignover moving away from the rest of the Elements as he's revealed themselves.
See a random spear flying out of the jungle. You don't always want to stay around. Obviously also for Elements, it's a lot about playing it fairly passive the first 15 minutes. You want to get the 24s on your Corki. You want to get 1 or 2 items completed on your Varus in the mid lane before the siege really starts happening. Fnatic running wave clear mid lane. Tristana, once she gets better time obviously at the waves, will start clearing them. Fairly effective as well. But really the thing for Fnatic here is Huni being the split pushing threat, Reckless being safe enough to sit in the side lane as well and maximize farm on your carries, and then group with Febiven, and you have zone control from the Victor, and you have the tower damage from Reckless. Once you get your E on the towers, few hits, it just explodes.
Oh yes indeed. So Reckless and Yellowstar still hanging out close to the bottom as they've warded away to try and take some Krugs away as NiF, Tabs, and JWoww are moving up to the top side. You had to take a look back to week number 3 when these teams last met. Obviously a win for Fnatic. They had a very massive lead over Elements. I don't think you could really predict that one coming to Fisio in all honesty. But this time, Elements are looking to maybe make things a little bit different, being some proactive, moving up to the top side, knowing they may not be able to do too much with this very safe starting lane, and maybe keep Huni on the back foot.
Yeah, and it's Elements swapping against the Jarvan pick. Normally, when you have a Shen, you don't want to lane swap. He excels at having a standard lane where he can get free farm in the start, get the first tanky item very early on, and then start becoming this global threat. in a lane swap, he kind of loses some of that, and he often gets denied quite a lot of farm. We need to see how Elements wants to play it out. If they leave the top lane to JWoww once the tower goes down. Also, the Corki Janna lane would have been more than fine into Tristana Alistar, so they're giving up a bit of lane pressure, but obviously lane swaps right now tend to be very fast. It's like 4 or 5 minutes, first tower's gone down, you tend to swap it back. And now it's already on the first tower. As you notice, JWoww is here. I expect Elements to give him that lane once tower goes down. Dexter, meanwhile, he just continue farming. You don't need him up in this lane. Instead, get a strong jungler. Also enables him to gank potentially the mid lane if there's an opening. Right now, though, Varus is pushing him.
Yeah, not really going to be able to get much of an opening there. JWoww actually tanking the tower for just a moment as they clear away the last cannon minion standing between them and finishing it off. Not so many problems with Fnatic down the bot side. Dexter just will be able to get himself a buff there. Fnatic definitely able to take their time about this one. Very standard stuff with the 3v0s that we've been seeing lately.
Just complete mirror from both teams, and what we then so often see is Fnatic leaves the lane to Huni, send Reckless and Yellowstar to the top lane, especially when Huni's playing these carries. And then they're gonna swap top instead and have this 2v1 lane against the Shen, while Huni can then get a slow push down towards them. And notice how Yellowstar already left the lane, setting up for Dragon. Reckless is going to do the same. This is no longer a meta where the AD carries are the main focus. They're no longer star players. You know, we got tired of them. Instead, top laners, you're going to get full tower. You're going to get all the gold. 275 for Huni.
Especially if you're somebody who can carry the way he can. Fnatic will also be able to secure themselves a very early Dragon unless Dexter can do something about this. He's got the ward on it, puts his heal up. It's going to have to be a hell of a javelin. Reignover is the one who gets hit with it. The Nidalee goes in. The Nidalee gets knocked up. The Nidalee hops back, but the Dragon's still alive. Smite it down. Who's it going to go to? That's first blood. Given over to Reckless. All of a sudden, it goes haywire. Fnatic have secured the Dragon, but they may lose their lives. Huni has got to be on the run. Elements snap the trap shut, but they can't catch anybody.
Fnatic managed to disengage, get the Dragon, get their first blood here. Dexter landed the spear and was like, okay, I'm gonna kill him now. This is so easy for me. Just jump in. The heal came in from Reckless, saved Reignover. They got the kill as well. But basically what happened here, Fnatic was slower at taking down their tower, so Elements had time to bounce the wave top, then recall to the bottom lane. Notice how we have taps as well down here in the bottom lane with Dexter, because they already killed the top tower. So he's going down. The heal saves Reignover. And everyone from Fnatic now just wants to disengage after getting the Dragon. Taunt so close and just flashing out. But Elements were fast at pushing, allowed us to almost stop the Dragon. But it allowed also JWoww to get quite a lot of farm, while Huni was busy down the bottom lane.
It's the one saving grace for Elements right now after all that they tried so close to being able to secure the Dragon. Couple of kills. JWoww got some farm, but Reckless now is on cleanup duty up top, and he's perfectly happy with that amount of CS he'll be picking up, not to mention that first kill.
And this right here is one of the reasons we don't see these early Dragons very often anymore, because in these lane swaps, it's so much about just 10, 20 seconds that can be impactful. And this early Dragon obviously delays you a lot. You don't farm anything, you don't get a lot of XP because you're just standing there with multiple members on the Dragon. So Huni is stuck in the bottom lane because Reckless is now getting the priority farm top for himself, and he's freezing it, something Fnatic did yesterday as well. Meaning the other two lanes have to play extremely careful, because your AD carry is stuck up there. He's not going to go anywhere. He's just sitting and he's applying zero pressure for now.
So after that brief moment of excitement, we're back to a lot of pressure on the bottom side. However, a semblance of normalcy here. Elements have a gold deficit of about 500, mostly courtesy of that first blood, and pretty much all even across the board elsewise, except for that Dragon that went so closely Fnatic's way.
Yeah.
Still, a lot's going to be on Dexter to try to make big plays, big impact. Right now, he's trying to keep up in farm versus Reignover, who's sitting on his Bomby Cinder, working his way towards the Cinder Hulk. JWoww's going to head up to the top in the meanwhile.
He's going to catch the wave. Reckless is slowly building up here, and obviously in lane swaps, it's not even that much about the goal, it's about the experience on the members. For now, Huni's level 4, but he's getting the waves down here bot lane. JWoww is going to go and try and catch the wave. We see Reckless build up. So both top laners staying even in that case. Huni though catching a bit of farm. Got the help from the rest of his team to secure it. Got to stop a push as well from Elements. Reignover might go and punish JWoww. If he shows himself too early in the lane, it's a very long lane he can gank in. He just needs to wait for these minions to come down to his tower.
Huni's still stuck under that tower for the time being. He's got a couple of ward companions there just to make sure no one is going to try to get the dive on him. Meanwhile, Tabs and Nif will have some free farm all to themselves. Reignover hanging out up in the top. in case JWoww tries any funny business. Yellowstar's following him, though.
And JWoww just placed a very smart ward here to spot exactly this. Notice also how Yellowstar is walking behind Reignover, so he knows Reignover is going to spot the potential ward. And therefore, he doesn't waste any time if they felt like there was no chance of the gank working. Obviously here, the plan is not even killing JWoww. Is saying you're not getting any farm.
And get him off the tower.
Steve didn't get any farm yesterday. That worked wonders for Fnatic. Now they're doing exactly the same. Dexter was on the top side. He recalled. No assistance for JWoww. He's now losing all these minions. Tough for him, seeing as he's already fallen behind.
Elements are going to be able to take a tower, but yes, this is the tough thing for JWoww. He's falling behind in farm versus Huni here, who has been kept down a little bit himself, but he's still going to get a wave, push his way eventually, whereas Fnatic are just not letting up on this pressure here.
But this move from Fnatic was predictable, because Yellowstar left the bottom lane, Reignover left the bottom lane. That's why Huni was standing there on his own, and he even backed away from the tower. So Elements knew there was only one place they could be, and that was up with Reckless in the top lane. Dexter could have been there to try and help JWoww, make them sit on the tower. If you're 2 members on the tower, 3 guys rarely want to dive you. Obviously, Huni had TP, so that might have been the counterplay for Fnatic, 4v2 dive, teleport, and that's why Elements just backed away. But it's really, really annoying for JWoww that he lost so much farm.
This is true. For Fnatic, yeah, they are making predictable moves, but they're getting away with it. This is kind of the story of the later games of the split for Fnatic. They have been behind several times. They have made mistakes. They have made plays that can be capitalized by stronger teams. However, it just has not been punished. Chaos Storm was out. Froggen looked to push in on Febiven. It will be pushed back for now.
But again, looking back at it, honestly, Elements made the right call, saying we're not going to try and defend it because Huni can teleport up and just 4v2 dive us. So if maybe we're sitting here trying to defend, get 1 minion, then we die to the tower dives. So smart enough of him to back away. Fnatic also didn't bounce the waves, so we saw JWoww catch a lot of farm from that. And it's now going even with Huni. Obviously, he's going to get a wave returning. So all in all, a good read. Predictable move from Fnatic, but also Elements saying, we know what you're setting up to do. We're just going to take bot tower and then have that even it out or close to even it out.
As both teams have been itching to get closer to that mid game since they've really not been spending that much time in all the proper lanes. We'll see what unfolds here as the next dragon comes up in less than half a minute. Reckless, fairly deep. There's Tabs, Dexter, and Nif waiting in the wings, but Yellowstar has his back, and so does Reignover. See what becomes this as Febiven starts to move down into the vision. Elements know something's up. Oh,
Froggen had a great laning phase. Remember, Febiven was forced back after that dragon fight as well. Froggen was not. That was a big advantage, and again, one of the reasons these early dragons can be so risky. But Froggen on Varus has been such a key pick for him. Yesterday, he looked great on it. It allows him to have impact in the mid game, which is what we see from more and more mid laners. And Froggen has been one of the star players on this Elements lineup, so they need him to do more than just late game team fights. He can do that on Varus, that's why I think it's such a key pick for him. JWoww going back to base, sitting ready with teleport. Fnatic looking to go in.
Huni's coming. Teleport. Here comes Huni. Dexter's already getting the hell out of dodge. There's the spear. He's going to go in with a standard of his own. Dragon a little bit low. Tabs is in the picture. JWoww comes against the taunt. Dragon is secured. Reignover's caught up by the chains. Huni might be the one going down, however. Speared by Froggen, or rather arrowed down. Reckless gets the knockback and gets the pickup onto Tabs right before his rocket came back off the cooldown. Dexter waits as he transforms back into the Cougar form to jump the wall.
Tabs clearly did not expect that damage. He had heal ready, but just got popped in the very end. He had 4 charges of the bomb on Febiven using cleanse, and he's just back away. But again, Fnatic starting early dragons. Elements had multiple members around it, not respecting their damage coming in from them once again. They get the dragon, but they're forced back, and Elements get damage on some other objectives.
They might be able to push a little bit more into this, but Reckless, avoiding taking damage, is able to push them back. He's starting to become a real threat in and of himself as early as it is in the game. 2 kills so far on the board for himself, still working his way towards that Infinity Edge. But let's take a look at that dragon fight again. It was hectic.
So again, look at the minimap. You can see everyone is around the dragon. Elements is split up at first. That's not the greatest for them. You want the Varus with your Janet to protect him. That's why Reignover was looking for that jump in. Huni goes in, has to flash away. He's very low. He's very squishy. He's only level 6 right now for himself. Febiven, he's level 8 in the mid lane instead. But look here, Tabs exploding with heal ready. Didn't manage to use it because he simply didn't expect the damage coming in from Reckless. That's one of the things you gotta remember. Tristana, once she gets a BF sword, now that she has a 80 scaling on her E, does pretty good damage in the mid game from that ability. Her problem is the fact that she relies so much on auto-attacking otherwise, and that's why she still has a dip in the mid game, because you gotta build up Infinity Edge, you gotta get Phantom Dancer or Static Shift, gotta get maybe towards the third item before your auto-attacks really become impactful, and that's where she still has a bit of a weakness, but definitely stronger than it used to be because of her E now having that AD scaling.
With that, Fnatic, 13 minutes in this game. It's only slight lead on the gold. 2-2 in towers, obviously, thanks to the switch arounds that have been happening, but they've got those 2 dragons. Those could come in very handy earlier on. And if you take a look at how everyone's performing across the board, that Tristana is about 30 CS ahead, just about, over the Corki. So Tabs definitely has got some work to do, but at the very least, one thing saving grace right here for Elements is that Froggen has just about the same lead as Feb.
2 former teammates, Reckless and Froggen. They're even in farm, winning against Febiven and Taps in this case here. That's an important thing, having your Tristana scaling, but it's even better for Elements in the sense that this Varus pick is gonna be the big carry. We know Corki falls off. The poke from Froggen is what's going to win Elements the game. The whole comp is built around being able to siege. That's also why you saw Huni stand at the Rift Scuttler. If you saw before, he was standing there getting the speed buff near the Baron. He was waiting for Elements to group and start poking towards the tower, and then he could just rush in and start a fight. But obviously nothing happened, so he just went back to the top lane. He's not been having the same impact simply because of the way the early game went. Fnatic was slower taking the tower, went for Dragon, meant that Huni did not go get this lane to sit and farm in like we saw yesterday. And then Elements made a smart play, grouping against him, take his tower down, and obviously avoid that play up in the top lane Fnatic was setting up for. So just smart play in Froggen, man.
Nice steal.
I like him on Varus. Man, he's so much more impactful in the mid game. And this is exactly what Elements need to win games.
So far, so good for Froggen. Able to snipe away a red buff from Reignover. See if he's able to get a little bit more damage dealt onto Febiven, who clears away the wave. Nice combo there. JWoww waiting around to see if he can't get a fight going with Huni. The wave at his back, but he's not going to risk it for now. Dexter moving up into the Fnatic jungle still. Timer is ticking for this team. Fnatic's late game scaling is going to be terrifying. And Elements, they've had history with late game.
True.
Not always good.
The poke from Elements will also scale well because of Froggen, obviously, because of Nidalee being in there. So there's multiple poke components from Elements, but you can see, again, the whole setup is group, start landing this poke here, have Stand United to save one of your carries, have Nif to save one of your carries. And we also got to see Febiven building a new thing we've seen more and more mid laners do against poke on Victor, is this movement speed build, where you go for Luden's Echo because it offers 10% movement speed. Now you get a Lich Bane later that's 5% as well. You obviously upgrade your Victor item, whatever it's called, forgot it now, to get the second upgrade on Q, the Hex Core, to get even more movement speed. And you use that to dodge the poke and also to get in range to blow up these squishy targets.
It makes that immobile, or rather less mobile, champion more mobile.
It's a bonus at least.
At the very least. So Huni still sitting under that tower. JWoww just keeps coming in and out, trying to trade a little bit with him. One level advantage over to Huni right now. And actually, Huni has pulled ahead once again in the farm game, but this isn't really where the game is about. The next dragon is less than a minute away. Right now, there's no wards directly in the river, but Fnatic, they've had a couple of close shaves. Let's see if they're able to get a strong one here once again.
It is very key, though, that JWoww keeps having control of Huni, because the Huni roaming down from the top lane is one of the ways Fnatic can set up a flank. Otherwise, he has to use his teleport, and that's where Elements will have double global in their advantage on the Shen to play around that. So as long as he can keep Huni in check, now that he has obviously been set behind as a top laner, that's one of the ways you can always make sure Froggen is safe in the mid lane to land his poke. We talked about how Tristana is going to sit in the other side lane just to maximize farm on 3 carries, meaning that only Febiven is here for wave clear at the moment. Reckless is obviously going to join him as well. Trinity Force is completed. Froggen has cooldown reduction, he has armor penetration, he is ready, he's loaded. Fnatic though, playing around these early dragons again. Might get the third one around 17 minutes. That's very early in the game. But every time they did it, they lost something. Or at least it was extremely close. Notice how JWoww keep pushing in against Huni. He just wants to have an eye on him. Always be near to see when Huni's teleporting away.
taps. Same
Might
thing.
cost him his life though, because Febiven is coming.
It just might. There he goes, gets the taunt out, but Huni buying some time. In comes a laser, the Chaos Storm. He's able to avoid the gravity, but still, he's gonna go down, and Huni picks himself up a kill with the help of Febiven. However, Elements will trade for Drake.
Yeah, now Elements can go to the mid lane as well. The tower is already being poked down. They have 3 members around it. Taps playing out the bot lane instead though, so not gonna value just a clear push on it because they want to start the slow push in the bottom lane as well, but Fnatic gave up the dragon, knowing if everyone goes top lane, dragon is gone. They got the 2 early ones, so not aiming for 5 dragons, instead just saying we couldn't even contest it if it was because of the poke.
There's a couple things going on in that situation. You've got the 2 early ones, so you can make the argument that yes, we can afford to give one up at this point.
Sure.
It's fine. We're going to scale really well late anyways. But another thing that gives is some much-needed gold into Huni's pocket. This guy has been an absolute essential part of a lot of their big victories. Even when he doesn't step up, yes, there's other people that will, but they wanted to get ahead. He gets that team on now. We'll talk about that later as Rainover is caught up, throws a big barrel. He's burning away. There's the heal from Reckless. Second time he saved somebody today.
Good guy, Reckless.
Close call.
Saving Rainover again and again, but it doesn't matter for Elements. They're not here for the kills. They're here just to poke you back into base so they can take your towers. That's what they're playing around for. Ooh. One of the reasons also Fnatic didn't want to go for that dragon was the fact they had lost vision control around it. And if you cannot go in and start dragon instantly and force Elements to fight you, you don't want to start dragon then against the Pokemon because they're just going to sit there and shooting fish in a barrel and you just keep getting hit left and right. You tank the dragon. Either you commit to dragon instantly and take the fight, or you don't even start it in the first place. That was what Fnatic decided. And therefore they went top as well for the kill. But mid tower going down. Elements playing safe and just fine here in the mid game.
They certainly are, but they are indeed making plays. Someone who criticized them for in the very early on in the split, they just weren't getting as much done. And I have to agree with you. I love Froggen on this Varus pickup. It's been a new development for him, but so far it has been working wonders. We are approaching 20 minutes in the game. The gold is close on dead even. 2 dragons to 1, 2 towers to 3. Elements are looking to make a statement here, keep their playoff hopes alive, and to be the first team to knock off Fnatic in the European LCS this split.
Now we've seen this before from Fnatic. We've honestly seen it even worse, where they were down 3-4k gold at 20 minutes, and they still managed to come back and win the game. So this is by no means bad. I mean, they're heading gold. Fnatic also playing against this massive mid-game spike of the Varus and the Corki on their side. They're just going to scale up Febiven. They're going to scale up Reckless. 2 early kills. There's no rush for Fnatic at the moment. But it's still fun to see a team like Elements improve as well over the split. And it's funny if you look at Nukedog from Rocket and Froggen here at Elements, 2 players we were saying they are so good, but we need to see more impact from them. Now that we have this poke meta, they have been stepping up. Both us also on Varus. I mean, that champion, man, he's blessed.
Yeah, quite well. Solid win rate in the European LCS. Huni tries to go in onto Nif, and he will not be able to find nearly enough damage, but he does go in for the Demacian dunk, and Dexter takes some serious damage. Chaos Storm, though, isn't going to go anywhere. Fnatic will have to back away empty-handed.
Dexter just doing a little bit of damage to Huni, saying, this is what I can. And when he turns around, just destroys him in a second, and forcing 2 flashes for himself. Obviously very key in trying to delay the push because you want to make sure that Elements is too afraid to group up and siege. The flank wards are going to be so key. You can see 2 of them here just left of Froggen. That's one of them is going to spot Rainover. When you play a siege composition, you got to ward your flanks both sides every single time, and you got to have knowledge about what wards do you have behind you in case the TP comes in with the flank, because that's the only thing that can really mess you up. It is the flanks against poke comps.
The answer can potentially be to go off and side push it yourself. You talked about Huni and his split push potential, but Reckless, he may get pincered here, but he's certainly going to get a tower for it. Tristan, and remember, out of all the 80 carries you can split push with, this one is probably one of the safest, and he just might get away.
Yeah.
They know exactly where Dexter is, and he'll get up.
You can fast push the waves. You can fast push the towers. You will destroy them. They don't stand a chance. You are safe because you have your jump, you have your ulti to shoot someone back. So Tristana is one of these 80 carries that can handle herself. And obviously we have seen more and more from Reckless where Fnatic use him as a bit of a split pusher now that Assassin is no longer in the meta. It used to be Febiven who would go to the side lane like Zed or LeBlanc and apply pressure, but that no longer happens because these Assassins are not played. Instead we have the control mages in the mid lane, so he's the wave player, farming up for the late game team fights, and then it's Reckless on Kalista. on Tristana in this case here, who's more applying pressure on the side lanes, and it's working for Fnatic. Got a very easy tower there and didn't even lose anything for it.
But they do have to be very careful of getting within the crosshairs of Elements, in particular Froggen. His piercing arrows just continue to harass the hell out of their health bars. With 1 minute left to go until this next dragon is up, Fnatic are committed to not making the same vision mistake twice. But Froggen and crew are committed to finishing off this tower. Another shot into Huni's face.
Elements should move into Dragon and start setting up their wards. They're...
Uh-oh.
Oh, Huni.
Chains.
So close,
Oh,
Froggen.
he's slowed. Gonna get it.
Oh, he had flash and didn't use it. Huni, greedy, saving the flash, but Froggen sniping him out. I was just about to say Elements, they need to move in and start setting up vision around the dragon. So they force Fnatic once again to just step away from it, not having to walk into all this poking, not being able to instantly start the dragon. Teams always want to, at least a minute before, start setting up for it. Nif is moving in now, so they don't really have the greatest deep vision on the side. They'll lie, because Dexter just got in a ward. Now, Reckless thought he was going to jump over.
Yeah, he's taking a little bit of damage. The Hail of Arrows helping out as well. Froggen flashes over, tries to finish it off, but he can't quite polish off the Yordle. Fnatic, however, they're zoned away from this dragon for now. This could be Elements number 2.
Same thing again here for Elements. They play around dragon really effectively. Fnatic can now be happy they took these 2 early dragons. Obviously to stop Elements from start snowballing out of control that way. But it is a problem how Elements is controlling this mid game around the objectives, and Huni giving over that kill to Froggen as well.
Saved his flash.
Save it for what?
Not to find out. Maybe he's got a few more minutes before that really becomes irrelevant, but Elements now finding a few Fnatic members in their own jungle as they look to take their blue buff, or rather Froggen does. It's going to be Dexter that ends up securing it. Might have been a little spooked by the fat man hanging out in the brush. Fnatic are stacking pretty heavily on this top side. They might want to try to fast push and bait a fight.
Well, February is back in base, so that's not really going to be an easy task here for Fnatic. If Elements realize there's only 4 guys pushing, so that's why Fnatic just backs away instantly from this one. They are looking instead for Elements to set up a group and then try and get disengaged from Huni. Combine that with Rainover, combine that with Yellowstar, you have 3 massive amounts of CC against squishy tigers like Varus, like the Corki. Even Nidalee is going to die extremely fast. So that's what Fnatic is waiting for, because they haven't been able to set up this split push. We saw with the Riven, with the Jarvan, because of the way lane swap went. Because Elements have kept pushing in the mid lane. That was something Rocket didn't do yesterday. They sat back down in their own towers. They were afraid of moving out of their own base. That allowed Fnatic to set up split pushing and trade picks. Now Elements is constantly just trying to push in the waves. Look at this tower.
They're going to be able to muscle it down. Just wait a few more seconds with the minions, and Tabs will take a Gatling gun shot to it. You can really tell where the focus for these teams has been this game. Elements, they've taken out all of the towers to the inhibitor one in the middle. Fnatic, they've done the same in the bottom. It's really been about the sideways for Fnatic, but Elements are muscling their way forward when they get a chance.
Can't really push on a Varus, just sitting in the mid lane, Froggen style. He's just gonna wave clear over and over, and his tower is still alive. Probably even close to full HP, yeah, just on like 90% HP. So it's better taking any damage on the side of Elements, and that's key as well. You need that mid tower to stay alive, because it makes it so much easier for you to ward your flanks. Once it goes down, Fnatic opens up the map, and oh, taps. Yeah, we got more people incoming, by the way.
He's burning low, but still, in comes Yellowstar, goes in for the dunk, but he goes down. Reckless hops in, Tabs is knocked and locked, and JWoww could be the next as he gets the taunt off, burns his flash to get away. All said and done, it's a 1-for-1.
Trading 1-for-1, Huni is very squishy. Obviously building full damage on the Jarvan, and Tabs realized it, just turned around. Poked him down, Moby boots as well, so Huni really looking to start roaming around. He knows he cannot establish the split push, so he has to be the flanking option. He has to be the engage for Fnatic. But that's why his build becomes super risky. Because if he cannot go in and one-shot a target, he's gonna die himself so fast. We saw it just before. That was Taps alone, by the way.
Yes, it was. JWoww saved by his innate tankiness throughout all of that as well. Fnatic are definitely trying to make a lot of moves, but they're trading even, and gotta wonder, some of this different play is really worth the experimentation at this point. Fnatic and Elements are keeping pace for pace here. The whole game, 300 separates the two of them.
Everything Fnatic do at this point is going to be worth it in terms of trying out new champions.
It's very true.
I mean, we are the ones talking about 18-0. We haven't heard Fnatic talk about it at all. So for them, even dropping a game wouldn't do anything. They're locked as first place. They can try out some of these new picks, maybe change the strategies here and there.
Jump in.
Maybe jump in on JWoww. I mean, why not?
A lot of damage on the Shen, but he may get a pick off onto Reckless. The spear is just barely going to miss. Froggen still trying to dissuade Fnatic from even getting involved in this jungle. Still playing very heavily around the top side. It's 27 minutes in. They could always sneak a Baron, but they may not get a chance. Froggen comes in to defend the tower, still staying relatively healthy.
Tap set up a slow push in the bottom lane, so they're all around the mid lane now from Elements, meaning Fnatic cannot sneak that early Baron. We tend to see 27 minutes is the first Baron for them on average. That's just around now. Obviously 24 Barons in total. It's been a special for Fnatic time and time again. Rush these early dragons if the other team is out of position and haven't put up any wards in the river. In this case, the Elements, they know it's going to happen. And if you start Baron for Fnatic and you don't get the chance to get that hard engage going instantly, again, the poke from Elements really start hurting you and you're stuck in there. Tanking Baron, tanking... Well, Nif is probably
tanking Nif. He's got his coin on, but they're not going to let him get away that easily. There's the Monsoon and the Howling Gale. And they stop Fnatic in their tracks for now.
Such a key ulti here from Nif. Managed to knock Huni back into the wall so he couldn't just donk him. He's trying again, and Fnatic, they keep staying on Rainover. Might look for some more.
On the roam, he gets two. He gets Dexter knocked into the team, and there goes the dunk from Huni. Reckless will pick up the kill as Dexter goes golden. He's gonna surely go down. A double kill for the Yordle, and he reset hops all the way back. Looks like it might be Baron time.
Fnatic just baiting around that Baron here. They know they have the hard engage from Huni, waiting for someone to face check instantly. Jumping in, Reckless getting more kills. Fibber on the other side of the wall here. JWoww, what can he do?
JWoww's going to try to make something happen. Rainover's the one he's targeting. Take the smite out of the equation. You might just have an even 50-50. Rainover going low. He's going to be able to secure it. And JWoww's popped, courtesy of the victor. Froggen flashing the wall with Nif. And Elements will go back to lick their wounds, but Fnatic have a Baron in their pockets.
And we see this time and time again. The teams, they're trying to match Fnatic. They play well in the early to mid game. They're even in gold. Small advantage here and there, but then Fnatic, they start making some of these extremely strong plays around objectives like Baron. Just baiting it. Elements never found the opportunity to walk in and ward it and ends up dying for it. Reckless even wants the mid tower. Let's see. Replay again. Rainover going in for the engage.
No, I have to cancel that one.
We don't want to look at him. Reckless is running.
He's going to get away out of that one. Dragon's live, though. Now, this is a small window for, well, I say that. As I say it, Huni's coming around the flank side, and he's going to find Tabs, who didn't know what hit him. Huni gets a solo kill on the side. And the crowd, and let's have a big hold up for just a second as the Dragon has started.
And just one mistake on the map, and Fnatic will punish you. Get the Baron now. Everything is open. Elements.
Oh, not again.
Out again.
Froggen, where did he go? Huni takes him down, and now we're starting to see that full damage Jarvan build. And Dexter, the kitty's getting burned. Has to leap, has to get the coin. Febiven's gonna flash for it, but he might have baited himself into a taunt. Gonna be able to get out of that courtesy of his cleanse. Fnatic's getting very, very aggressive on these Elements.
Yeah, now they're gonna get a mid tower as well for themselves. Don't even need that Dragon. You got the kills, push in. The wave play is gone here from Froggen. They're just turning on the power. Take it easy, relax. Baron, boom, here we go.
Not a problem at all. Inhibitor number 1 is down in the middle. We're just over 30 minutes into this game. It should be a very easy Dragon take if they want to. Fnatic just started to steamroll ahead. What was such a very even gold game, catching back up to it now, has certainly widened by quite a margin.
And Fnatic can just go back to do exactly the same thing.
And there it is. Goodbye, Dexter.
Yeah. Sit back at that Dragon again. Say, is anyone coming? Okay. My name is Huni, I'm gonna one-shot you. And now also for Fnatic, go back to your 1-3-1 if you want to. You have the wave play mid, you have Huni who can now start pushing in the waves because you have now taken control of the map. I mean, Taps split up from his team. The big bad wolf, or Huni, is waiting in the forest. And he's kidding you and he's killing you. Dexter, same deal. Oh, it was Froggen, sorry. Oh, they both died. Yeah, they both died.
Huni is mounting trophies on his wall at this point. Froggen's going to try to stop the push in the top side, but with Victor and Tristana both there, it might be a little bit more than he bargained for. Yellowstar is also coming around the side. Fnatic really turned on the pressure here, so they will be able to keep Elements back close to their base. Huni's just farming up the jungle. They don't really need him at the moment.
Oh yes, TP ready in case he is needed. For now, Fnatic, they have this fantastic Tristana that can destroy the towers. Elements needs to just consistently clear the waves and then hope Fnatic like over dives. But I mean, you have an Alistar as well to set up the dive.
Well, we've been talking about poke compositions of what can beat them in the office when played properly. It's always that hard engage we come back to, and Fnatic are bringing the hardest of engages here. Froggen runs right into the barrel. Tower being fired down. Rekkles has got it on a detonation, and he takes it down. This Tristana just
best feeling ever.
Them.
Best feeling ever.
Is on the bottom side, uncontested. This full damage Jarvan build is working wonders, and they are just wrecking through Element's base.
What can you do? Your Elements right now. You're not here to start fight yourself. You're here to force Fnatic to engage on you, but they're just gonna take down your towers because they now have the lead. They now have the control. So all you can do is just wave clear and wait for that potential dive, and then try and lock them down with the Varus ulti.
Elements did play this mid-game out very, very well. It really has just been a small series of mistakes, but time and time again, that is what Fnatic will punish. They haven't locked up the game just yet, but they're certainly starting to look like it. 33 minutes on the board. Keep on widening the gold lead, keep on the pressure. In 1, in 2, in 3 lanes. Huni goes back, gets a little farm, goes right back to it. Elements have the task cut out for them if they want to try and stay alive. A loss here would make it very tough for their playoff hopes.
The damage from Rekkles, and then the damage from Fnatic onto Champion.
And now they're going in. Oh, and Nif is just gone. Chaos Storm's out. In comes Rekkles. Tabs now could be the next. He's knocked in. Huni's going to look to secure it, but not even needed. Now JWoww trying to run desperately back to his fountain. He won't even make it. It's Froggen on fountain duty with Dexter, and this game is all but over. 34 minutes on the board. Fnatic keep the streak going as Dexter just tries desperately to hang on, but they can't do it. Fnatic with another win.
A simple mistake is enough for Fnatic to say, okay, there were the one mistake we were looking for. We're now going to take over the game, and there's nothing you can do about it. Taps went bot lane to start a slow push. Fnatic saw him there. We were talking 27 minutes, 28 minutes. Instantly moved to Baron, clear out the wards. They had the pings ready, they had the sweepers ready, cleared all the vision from Elements, and basically just stuck in there in the darkness and said, you are going to have to come in here and check what's going on at some point. We have a Jarvan, we have a Gragas, we have an Alistar. We have so many ways of starting fights on you if you're walking in with your poke comp to check what's going on. Really? And that's exactly what happened. Kills, Baron, and from there on and out, game is over.
And so, for the 16th time, this split, Fnatic make that walk over to the other side. Shake hands.
That must be boring soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta wonder what it's like when you just sit in your chairs.
Yeah, I always have to.
They're getting good exercise though.
Have to walk over, always doing all the hard work on the side of Fnatic, but overall, credit to Elements for that early to mid game. I love the way they played out in the lane swap, how they reacted to that potential 4v2 dive. Fnatic was setting up and Rekkles pushing the top wave, and first we were calling it, oh, why didn't Dexter come out and help him? And then like, wait a minute, TP were ready for Huni. Elements spotted that one, took a tower in response. It meant Huni didn't really get a massive lead like we saw on Riven. Slowed down Fnatic, allowed Elements to get to mid game, start poking. They had good plays around Dragons. They were setting up the vision first. They were landing the poke. But then they just one thing, one little misposition on the map, and the Fnatic shot calling just kicks in, being like, okay, right now we go here, we do this, and there's now very few answers to make. And that's the thing about League of Legends. It's always about putting your enemy in a situation where there's no good answer. Like, there's no good call for them to make. What do you do if they're stuck in here in the Baron, you have no vision on them? Do you start pushing up mid lane to try and take down the tower? No, because then they just walk in and flank you with the Jarvan, as you see here with the Gragas and so on. Do you walk in and stop the Baron? No, you can't, because then they engage onto you. So there's just very little plays to make at that point once you hit, you know, that moment.
Exactly. You have to be able to make it even earlier on. And big credit to Elements for playing their minds out in that mid game and keeping pace very effectively. Now, it's a hard loss, but you can't say it's unexpected against the best team, still undefeated here in Europe. And Elements will have 2 games that are with teams fairly close in their standings right now. You've got Gambit, and of course you've got SK. We'll have to see if they're able to stay alive in the playoffs for now. But we're going to go ahead and send it analyst desk side to take a look at Fnatic's Sweet 16.
Thank you so much, Pyrotechnics. Yeah, another win there for Fnatic. And again, inserting some different ingredients into the comp. 9th different champion for Huni in 16 games in that Jarvan. What did you guys make of the comps?
I really liked what Elements brought to the table. They came in with a clear plan, a composition that was planned out ahead. I really liked the Janna pick on Nif, and I think in a sense, Elements actually outdrafted Fnatic. If they managed to take that lead in the early mid-game, which their composition should allow, then the Janna could have been a hard counter to the Jarvan from Huni, nullifying that pick entirely, and then Elements could have carried the game home.
I feel that was a slight part of maybe Fnatic kind of almost outdrafting themselves if they didn't execute properly. I will give a lot to Elements on what they actually did get in the draft. I think they played it out pretty well from what they got, but they were against Fnatic, which unfortunately tends to be a very difficult game here in Europe. But the Jarvan pick I want to touch on very briefly. We've seen Gamsu run it over in North America, and we've seen both sides of the coin when he doesn't get ahead. However, Huni was able to save it a little bit with a couple of good engages later into the game.
Yeah, if he's not around Nif, then obviously he can start dunking left and right, and at the end of the game it looks very impressive. However, it is possible to keep that pick down on Huni, so I would have like to see a different version of this game, should it be possible to go back in time. Obviously, we can't. Fnatic came out ahead, but the early game wasn't all that even, though.
Yeah, if you talk about going back in the game, something that Elements will be kicking themselves over probably will be that first dragon fight skirmish. You often say this is what Tilt is made of. If I was playing in that game, if I didn't get a kill, whew.
So yeah, a lot of choices to be made here in the replay. Dexter, he can go for the spear hop steal, but now he changes his mind because he sees Reignover, and Reignover goes low, so he decides to opt for the kill and then the steal. However, he forgets about the heal. He goes back, and if one more hit would have landed on the dragon earlier, any more auto attack, dragon would have been secured. However, Reckless picks it up, Taunt barely gets him. Huni going down here. Febiven, I think, makes it out alive. Gravity Field stuns Tabs and Froggen. This is so close to coming out on top of 3 kills for Elements and the Dragon, but it just wasn't quite enough. But testament to Fnatic, they take these risky plays on paper, but they make them work. They're always controlled, like that heal that was full-on calculated in a sense, you know, it came out exactly when it had to be. And it's so hard. Whenever you think you have Fnatic pinned down, they just throw out like a curveball yet again and they come out on top. But they have to stop falling this far behind or setting themselves up in these positions, because better teams will exploit that.
And that wasn't the only position in the game where Fnatic had one of these fights where Elements could have capitalized. We want to take another look at one of the other fights in the game, this one just around the Baron area. And ultimately, this was a fight just after they caught Nif. Great engage out of Reignover. They managed to get a lot of damage down, get the carries out of the fight for now. However, as Fnatic are readjusting up towards the Baron pit in just a second, there is a moment here where JWoww could look to triple taunt here, but they don't really feel like they can go for it. Elements are in a bit of an odd position. They would have had the damage with Froggen to capitalize on that, but now Fnatic are backed into the Baron pit against Poke.
Keep your eyes on Huni as well, and the piercing arrow from Froggen that's about to come out. I believe it actually connects on the Baron and not on Reignover. Reignover could have died there, so that would have been smite down, would have been a 50-50 Baron. So Fnatic are leaving room for counterplay. Strategically later in the game when they have the lead, they don't, but these plays, they leave room for counterplay, and it is not impossible to think that Reignover would have died there after the taunt with the arrow. It was so very close. Then the Baron could have been stolen by Froggen. Yes, Febiven was flanking, but it is getting tricky. And obviously Fnatic by far the best team in Europe right now. But looking at Worlds will be interesting. However, it could be true that they're experimenting, you know, being a little loose. Maybe practicing a little less even to prevent the burnout that usually comes around Worlds. Like, we have no insight on what's going on. But it's getting closer every game. Yeah,
it is. But here in Europe, still 16-0 and undefeated, so not too sad about that one. Just quickly for Elements now, they are in 8th. That means they fall behind Roccat and Giants and only 1 game above SK Gaming. So for Elements, definitely be kicking themselves after especially that early game phase. But in the end, it's Fnatic, 16-0, still undefeated. And there's more LCS coming your way in just a few minutes as the Unicorns of Love go up against Gambit Gaming in a fight for 4th. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.
Guys, did you do the checklist?
What? Do my taxes?
The checklist.
Oh my god.
Might be the one going down, however, speared by Froggen, or rather arrowed down. Reckless gets the knockback and gets the pickup. Take the smite out of the equation, you might just have an even 50-50. Reignover going low, he's gonna be able to secure it, and JWoww's popped, courtesy of the victor, and this game is all but over. 34 minutes on the board. Fnatic keep the streak going as Dexter just tries desperately to hang on. Fnatic with another win.